Yeah. Yo, welcome back to another edition of the Men Who Cry podcast. Thank you guys again for listening. To me, it'll mean so much to me if you guys can like, subscribe, and review. You know, it would be great if you can tell all your friends about this podcast. If you don't do these things, I have to assume that you're going to be one of the people who think the NFL is still racist when they start a different black quarterback over Shador Sanders this season. On today's episode, a lot of basketball to talk about on the court and a lot of nonsense with basketball to talk off the court, because I don't know what idiots you guys are listening to who are out there telling you that these NBA playoffs in the first round were going to be trash, but that guy was an idiot. These playoffs have been spectacular. Shout out to Adam Silver for getting us here through the long haul of the season. We're going to start with the Eastern Conference first. Then we're going to slide over to the Western Conference, because in the East, I think there has to be something to say that the fact that this is probably the most wide open I have seen the East in a long, long time. Legitimately, all of these teams, I think, have a chance to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. I am recording this before the Sixers play the Celtics and before, well, the last game is going to be the Rockets and Lakers. We will get into that. But I think just going down in each brackets, I was dead wrong about these series, because I definitely felt that for sure Orlando was just a broken team and there was no way that they were going to be able to face the Pistons. But as of right now, I would be pretty surprised if Orlando doesn't win this series. The thing about the playoffs and the thing about the NBA that is so difficult for, I think, a lot of casual fans to grasp and to get is that the regular season in basketball is completely different than what the playoff basketball is, right? It is not just the fact that there are so many more games being played and the importance of the game simply just do not matter, right? A lot of times there's always this desire for basketball fans to try and be what football is. But the nature of football stresses every single game. You have to win as many games as you can because you want to have decided advantages. A bye in the first round, home field advantage in throughout the playoffs, your ability to win your division, right? Rest potentially in a week 17 where you don't need to play everyone, or week 18 rather, where you don't need to play anybody because you had all this, done all the winning already early in the season. And by and large part now, football has essentially replaced basketball as the most predominant sport as determining who's going to be your champion. For the last several seasons, all of the champions have been, a 1 seed or a 2 seed, right? The teams that have made the championship games have been, by and large part, the 1 or the 2 seeds, right? Outside of the year that Mahomes had, where I believe they were the 4 seed or the 3 seed either. I think they were the 4 seed when they got to the Super Bowl, end up losing to the Eagles. It is essentially the top 2 seeds that get there every single time. And while we have not gone all the way in the NBA as far as having a team that was, an 8 seed or a 7 seed win the championship, we have seen these teams get to conference finals, get to the NBA finals, push teams in the finals to where these teams can win. Indiana was the 4 seed last year, and I keep repeating to people, was under 500 come Christmas. And yet they were able to get what they needed to get going, and they made their run. You look at this Orlando Magic team, and you look at the way that they play the Pistons. The talent is not. There's no large talent gap between these two teams. There isn't. If you look at their preseason odds, the Orlando Magic were projected to win more games than the Pistons. The Orlando Magic had, by and large part, a very disappointing season to end up back in the play-in, not only being in the play-in, losing in the play-in, and then having to end up being the 8 seed. But this Pistons team's in trouble because they are the classic team that I would say most NBA fans kind of knew was a little bit of a paper tiger in the sense of you had one guy, and Cade has been awesome. I got into a little bit of an argument with one of my friends who said that Cade had had such a really bad game 3. I turned around and told him, I said, yeah, you would have a bad game 3 too with everything you have to do. There's 3 guys in your face every time you try to make a play. Ultimately, all the things that people said were going to be the Achilles heel of this Pistons team is coming to fruition. You got one guy that has to do everything with the basketball. You are essentially daring everyone else to shoot threes and to make plays for them. And they are just getting out physical. And when you have a team in the Orlando Magic that essentially is what the Pistons are, but have already made their all-in move when getting Desmond Bane, drafted their secondary scorer in Franz Wagner, and has their best player, Paolo Banchero, playing within himself and is not looking like he's a sad puppy out there, they're the more talented and frankly experienced team. So that series, I think, is at least going 6, if not 7 games. And Orlando is very much a team that looks like they are going to win that series. And very clearly, I think most people don't realize this, is how much coaching matters come postseason time. And I have yet to see a well-coached JB Bickerstaff team when it comes to the postseason. Haven't seen it yet. The man has lost in the first round multiple times. He has gotten killed in the second round multiple times. I simply do not think that the Pistons were ever going to reach the new level of expectation that I think a lot of fans had for them. Did I think that they were going to lose in the first round? Absolutely not. Did I see them getting clipped by what I thought would be Cleveland? And we will get to Cleveland. Absolutely. Because there is just something to be said about a team that plays hard for all 82 games. And then there's a team that understands what the 16 games you need to win to get into to win the championship, what that requires. And so that series is looking like it is going the distance. Speaking of a series that I don't believe will go the distance, but very much looks like it is over, though it is tied, and that is Knicks Hawks. Knicks Hawks is a fascinating series, and I think it becomes a Rorschach test of how you look at, especially I think a team like the Knicks, right? Everyone, I think, under the sun would pick the Knicks to win that series simply based on the fact that they have the 2 best players in the series coming into the series. They have the more experienced coach, a guy who's gotten a team to an NBA Finals, who has coached multiple 50-win season teams, and who has been on staffs, Greg Popovich and Steve Kerr, that has won numerous championships. And yet, because it is the Knicks, and it's because they find ways to do things that mess with your mind, they make it harder than it needs to be. Has anyone ever been in a situation where, let's say you work in sales or you work as a teacher, you're in a group, and let's say by every single metric that your job measures, you are the best person at your job, whether you're sales, whether you're the best teacher, you're the best lawyer, you are the best in your field, in your division, in your company, right? But then there's one day where, whether it's a child, whether it's a client, whether it's a parent, some reason why you guys don't get along, right? It happens. People are people, right? You don't seem to vibe with that person, but someone on your team, they might vibe with them. They went to the same high school as them. They have the same common interests. They're able to talk about anime in a way that you aren't able to. It is solely incumbent on you to recognize that this just might not be your person. And that sometimes it's better for you to pass the rock so the team can win. What I am talking about is the experience that Jalen Brunson is going through. Jalen Brunson is, without question, the best player of the Knicks. He is the face of the franchise. If he retires today, he is going to be one of the greatest Knicks to ever play basketball. He don't got it this series. Whether it's Nickeil Alexander-Walker, whether it's Dyson Daniels, whether it's Gabe Vincent, it doesn't matter. He don't got it. The Hawks can't guard his teammate, Karl Anthony Towns. And he was like almost reluctantly trying to accept this fact. And this doesn't mean that he's any less of a player. It doesn't mean his status will change. I think for most people who watch the game, they don't have a center. The only reason that this series is still 2-2 is in large part because of Mike Brown's really bad coaching decisions at times. And he is having a world of a time dealing with this pressure. And the point guard not realizing that big man beats little man, and little man needs to get the ball to big man. The counter to that is big man needs to know he is big man and needs to play like big man, which is a fair assessment. But if you watch the last game that these brothers played, obviously this will be coming out on Tuesday, so this is going to be some real spilled milk. The whole series boils down to, can the Knicks simply get Karl Anthony Towns the ball? That is it. There has been no point where Cat having the ball has been bad for the Knicks. Does he have his bad plays? Yeah, of course. He's Karl Anthony Towns. He's going to make these bad plays all the time. But he's not someone that the Hawks can stop at any point. And the fact that they will not get him the ball is one of the most infuriating things that I think any fan can have dealt with during this part of the series. And it has been something that I think the Knicks will have to grow from. I think this series is going to be over in 6 games. And them playing the Celtics is going to be a different beast in what it could be. And that whole, like, you're still the best player, but you need to get this guy the ball, that thing might carry out not just in this Hawks series, but definitely in round 2 and potentially 3. And if they make it all that way, the NBA Finals. The team that's looking like it's going to stand in their way are the Boston Celtics versus the Philadelphia 76ers in a series, which, again, we are recording, and this game is being played as of right now. Joel Embiid is playing in this game, and the Sixers absolutely seem like they're going to have a chance to be able to extend this series because of the way that Maxey and VJ Edgecombe is playing. And as someone who has been a staunch critic of rookies playing in the postseason, rookies tend to play like shit in the postseason because there's just things that teams do. You're able to lock in, you're able to watch more film, and you're able to take away the best things that those players are able to do. VJ Edgecombe isn't hearing none of that. He's been able to get downhill, hit his shots, and basically be the best player on the court, especially in the only game that the Sixers have won. The Sixers are not winning this series unless something catastrophic happens. One of the Jays gets hurt, some insane ejection. Like there would have to be a lot for them to win this series. But the Sixers have always been this team that I feel like has been blue balling their fan base for a long time because they have a lot of talent. They have a lot of really good players. And yet their players are either hurt, they get injured, or some miraculous entity known to man gets them to not play well, whether it's suspensions, whether it's they almost killed one of their first round picks in Markelle Fultz. Something about that franchise always seems to break in a way that stops them from going any further. But I will at least credit them for putting up a good fight against what is going to be a team of the Celtics that a lot of people think is going to actually make the NBA Finals, if not win the championship. And the last team in the Eastern Conference that I thought was going to be a sweep are is the Cleveland Cavaliers, now in a tie series with the Toronto Raptors. They played, I think, one of the worst playoff basketball games I've ever seen. They missed every 3 that I think everyone took. And the Raptors are a team that I think in game 3 were able to hit their shots, get out and running, and turn the Cavs over a lot. This game in particular was about them being able to stifle the Cavs on offense, which I did not be able to see or not able to think to happen. And the Cavs missed a ton of shots. And the physicality that the Raptors were able to play with really bothered the Cavs, which is ultimately why I said this in the beginning. If the Cavs do not win this series, this team is done. It's done. And I think because, unfortunately, it is Cleveland and it's not New York, and it's a lot better to get clicks for New York than Cleveland team, they are absolutely in the same situation as the Knicks, where there are no more moves, right? You've had this core for a while. You've already made your all-in trade with Donovan Mitchell. You drafted Evan Mobley. He's just a guy. He's a good player, not a great player. And you now added James Harden to this mix into what I can only think is a team that has the most pressure on it that no one seems to want to talk about. I will not pick the Cavs to lose this series, but this series looks like it's going to go 7 games now. And in a 7-game series, when you have, obviously you're going to be at home if this series goes 7, but those game 7s can go either way now. A lot of times you look at the statistics, the home team normally wins a lot of game 7s. Those splits have become a lot more even in recent years. And the one thing that I just know that's coming, because I always know what's around the corner, is those James Harden bad games. Now, he has not had, I would say, a truly bad game in these playoffs as of yet, in the 4 games that he's played. But when that pressure rises and they start calling less of his fouls, it seems to be a situation where he is unable to properly adjust to how the officiating is getting called. And for the Cavs to have this Raptors team, who I still do not think is that good of a basketball team. I mean, again, watch this game. It was not good. For RJ Barrett, for Scotty Barnes, and shout out to Brandon Ingram, BIG, as the people are calling him and his girlfriend Gorilla's couple group now. They were able to dig deep, fight through a lot of their misses. Like, oh my God, this was very much a brick house kind of game, and seal a win in a series that I thought they would be lucky to get 1. So we will see how the rest of that series does play out. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to go slide over to the Western Conference and everything happening there. All right, back again to talk to you guys about the Western Conference. In one of the series, I'm not going to talk too much about OKC Phoenix because that series is over, and there's nothing really more to talk about. Shout out to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who had 42 points in his last game and is looking ever so much like the MVP, and OKC is looking like they are going to win this championship. I want to spend a lot more time on the Lakers-Rockets series, not because I thought that it's not the fact that I was essentially right about the series. Like, this series is over. It just depends on whether or not the Rockets got on a plane to go to LA or not. But how a team you can just feel it. You know what I mean? Like, you can almost just feel how much a team's got no backbone. It's got no juice to it. And unfortunately, a lot of this stuff it goes into someone like Kevin Durant for a couple of reasons. One, he's the younger of the 2 guys in this series, in the old man series, in this old man leaves town matchup that we talked about. And he's the guy who can't play. It's being reported right now that Kevin Durant did not play in game 4. I have no idea if the Rockets were able to win that game or not, but if they did, it doesn't seem like he's going to be able to play in game 5, even if that were to happen, and this series isn't going to go longer than 5 games at that point. But just the fact that Durant seems to it's almost like he's missing the texture of what makes a team a team. You know, I remember this before, people saying this story, how like Kevin Durant, when he was in high school, went to 4 different high schools. And I think he spent 1 year at Texas, and then he was in the NBA at that point. And I think basketball almost just became so transactional for him, where he plays, he goes home, but there's no connective tissue to his teammates. I mean, he made that burner account. Like, that was him, okay? Like, that account has ceased to tweet or DM or do whatever ever since he got caught. Like, that was him, okay? And while I'm not saying he was wrong about some of those things, like Jabari Smith, oh, buddy, that boy cannot shoot. Like, he is just not someone that I think galvanizes the team. And it's from team to team to team to team. And he's going to get out again. And I can't believe that he's going to burn a bridge with another team. And this, to me, was the team. I originally had the Rockets getting to the finals. But the reason why I fell off that was mostly because of Fred VanVleet tearing his ACL. And a lot of people were kind of hyping up this Ahmed Thompson playing point guard. And I'm like, y'all don't realize how much of having a point guard actually matters. Like, you can't just play around with not having a point guard. You either have one or you have some version of a guy who's maybe a little bit of hybrid of one, like a Luka Doncic, if you argue he's like a little hybrid, a LeBron on your team. Even a team like the Magic have some version of it with Suggs and Paolo and Franz. Like they've been able to make it kind of mesh together. But if you don't have a guy who's actually excellent at making decisions, they're not going to win the playoffs. That's why they lost all these clutch games, because they're so bad at making decisions when the team is locked in the last, 6 to 5 minutes of close basketball games. It was the main reason I didn't pick them to win this series, even with Luka and Austin Reeves out. Fundamentally, Kevin Durant is one of the greatest basketball players to ever play this game. He is also just the biggest enigma that I've ever seen, because his talent is undeniable. But whatever that extra level, that deep touch that you need, he just doesn't seem to have that. And it's always been something that I think plagues him. I don't think Kevin Durant's a bad guy. I think Kevin Durant is pretty much beloved, And I've turned my kind of personal, let me rephrase that. It's not really personal. I've never had a personal issue with Kevin Durant. But just turned I think a lot of misunderstanding around for him, because a lot of times I felt as if he was almost like us, like I said, the subject of our first social media wars was largely Kevin Durant and his decision to go to Golden State. And we don't even realize how much that affects people's mentally. And I think once whatever that happened, once that moment, that decision was made, something inside of his relationship with basketball really changed. And he just, at that group setting, that love, it just never came anymore. And now he's going to ask for another trade. He'll get traded to somewhere. I don't know where. That will definitely be summer content that I'll try to think about, is the best Kevin Durant trades. It's honestly, it's a new thing every single year, right? Like him and Harden just keep swapping teams every once in a while. The craziest thing, just off the top of my head, we bring the band back together, but for the expansion team of Seattle, and give them back Durant, Westbrook, and Harden. That would be fire. But that to me is just his whole dig, is just unfortunately just staying with that. Sliding on down to Spurs, Trailblazers. Thank you, Trailblazers, for making it interesting for about 2 games. Unfortunately, this series is also over. They just got blown out at home by the Spurs. This was the Spurs' first time ever, they said on the broadcast, that they were down by 15 in the playoff game and won by more than 15 points. It's not necessarily even to talk about this playoff series, but it's more to talk about the path that I think is being laid out, because there's no reason why Spurs Thunder shouldn't be the Western Conference Finals. You have this OKC team that hasn't lost a game yet and has frankly dominated the Suns in their matchup, are going to now get a Lakers team, which, yes, Luka and Reeves might be back for both of those, for that series, but they've just handled the Lakers so much, and it's so easy to see how OKC is just going to completely put Reeves and Luka in different actions and not allow them to get settled in on the offensive end and just get into their chests. So I think OKC has a very, very favorable matchup when it comes to the Lakers in the next round. And for the Spurs, they're either going to get, just the hospital bed that is the Timberwolves, with, unfortunately, Dante, fan favorite, popping his Achilles, and Edwards essentially having a bone bruise in his knee. He's going to miss multiple weeks. Minnesota, who I do think can still win that series, but we'll get more into that in a bit. Or take on this Denver team that, as Jaden McDaniels said, can't guard anybody. And while the matchups are going to be different, obviously, for whoever gets in there, the Spurs, I think, are just playing with such a crispness, and have this force of like, we do not care. We are trying to win the championship right here, right now. And that's what Wemby's mindset is. And I think that team feeds off of that. And so OKC Spurs, I think, is going to be the rivalry of this next decade. These two teams are still very young. None of their core players, I believe, is over like 29. So you have a couple of years for these guys to get their runway in and see who can reign supreme in the Western Conference that doesn't really have any other earth-shaking team currently in it that can get these guys to fall off. So that's just the side of it for the Spurs. And the last series that we have to do is the black and blue series, because as multiple people are hurt and multiple people are getting into fights all the time. Nuggets, Wolves. I had the Wolves winning this series. I still think that the Wolves are going to win this series. I think it's just hard for a Denver team to win 3 straight games when they have just not looked good offensively against Rudy Gobert and the Timberwolves. But the Timberwolves are essentially missing their entire backcourt. Like I just said before, Ant's hurt, Dante is hurt, and the Wolves are really going to struggle offensively. However, we have not seen any way that the Nuggets can guard these guys. And I think that while Jokic has gotten a lot of credit and has been considered the best player in the world, I do think, and I thought this going in to the season this year, this was going to be the last season that we ever thought that Victor Wembanyama was not the best player in the world. And if he loses in round 1, now it's not going to come out this way because Ant did play, Dante did play in most of the series, but if he loses to essentially a half-decent Wolves team that he's lost to now 2 times in the postseason, there is going to be a lot louder conversations about his defense and how it is going to be really tough to keep having him and Jamal Murray together on a team. And I do think that his status as the best player in the world, he's probably going to finish second in MVP this year. He's still a great, great player. But these things move fast. And Victor having, whether it's him beating Jokic straight up in the next round or him beating the team that Jokic couldn't beat, that narrative is going to build to a point where I just don't think he's going to be able to withstand what will be coming. And I think it is simply Victor becoming the player that I think we all think he will be, and his space on top of the mountaintop. So that's the NBA playoffs. Again, shout out to them. This has been an awesome first round. In the first round that I did not think was going to be this good. And I think the second round could be even better, which will probably start taking off at the end of next week into the week after that. All right, we're going to take one last break, and then we're going to talk about, unfortunately, what everyone on the internet seems to keep talking about. All right, setting up the scene for you guys. Last little bit that we're talking about is the breakup that seems to be breaking apart families. It's hilarious how these things tend to go off. So it seems like Klay Thompson cheated on Megan Thee Stallion. This thing dropped like a Woj bomb on Saturday. Literally was about to get ready to watch Knicks Hawks before this thing took off. Meg put out a post. I go ahead and read it. We can put up on the screen right now for you guys to see. But Megan essentially accused Klay Thompson of cheating on her, then put out a press statement basically saying that they are no longer together. And this thing got people, saying some things that I am just like, y'all realize y'all kids gonna see this one day, right? I mean, we have seen things from, I hope that man tears his ACL. We did not know who he was. He was irrelevant before this happened. This is what Megan deserves. I mean, just y'all have lost your goddamn minds. A couple of things that I want to touch on for this, right? These two started dating in 2025, I guess the summer of 2025. And this is April, right? So let's say it's been about 9 months, 10 months, right? We haven't really even fully gotten to a year. So many people oftentimes put what they are experiencing onto celebrities. This is a lot of things I talk about with stan culture, right? Stan culture has gotten so bad that we essentially believe that we are living the lives of these people that we have never met. The people who are defending Klay never met this guy. People who are defending Megan never met her. By and large part, these are simply just avatars for a lot of people's hurt feelings coming to the light. And because of these parasocial relationships, you really think that you know these people and you're really experiencing the pain that they are going through. And we have essentially normalized that idea to a point where it's like people literally told me, oh, yeah, they just wish that he tears his ACL. Like, all right, how about you go down the stairs and tear your ACL and just have a grand old time? Fucking stupid. There is a lot of people who just want to hate on other people. And I know it's tough as someone who has a microphone in front of his face doing this, but it's just a lot of noise. It's just a lot of noise. I've been trying to myself do a lot more like thinking about just relationships, not even just romantic relationships with my friends, my family, my job, and doing a lot more journaling. And the one thing that I've kind of discovered in that, I've watched some YouTube videos on this stuff and reading about this stuff on this idea of like heartbreak. And there was I cannot remember his name, so forgive me, but he was basically sitting there and explaining how heartbreak should be considered like a physical condition. Like it should be considered something that you should take off work for, right? Because it's so demanding and it's so painful. It like throws you off your axis. And I think that's where a lot of people are siding with Megan and this idea of there's probably a lot of heartbreak that she's going through, right? And that is where a lot of this comes through, and then people are just lashing out of that. That's not going to make the pain go away. What makes the pain go away is recognizing that, one, this is not you. You did not experience Klay Thompson did not cheat on you. Okay, to put it lightly. The man or woman that cheated on you, they cheated on you. And letting that go is going to kind of be the best way that this is going to be able to move forward with you. And having this fixation on celebrities and what they go through is simply just not healthy. And finding a way to kind of like push past all of that is probably going to be the best thing that you're going to be able to do to free yourself of whatever pain there is. Because ultimately, this situation between these two has simply led to people placing themselves in situations and saying things that are so reprehensible that it's not even worth repeating. The basketball player that Klay Thompson was is one of the greatest basketball players of all time. He's going to walk into the Hall of Fame, right? He might also just be a slime bag. Like that could also be kind of who he is, right? Like Klay just kind of just living his life. And Meg is a beautiful, rich woman. Women tend to get cheated on. Men get cheated on. This isn't anything very special or unique about this thing. But what I want to glean most from people is that people are not here to have a nuanced conversation about this. People are here to get their takes and their jokes off because they're just using these two as a way to get whatever they were feeling before off now. And unfortunately, algorithm, society, we all reward this because we don't really have a lot of conversations about Donovan Mitchell and Coco Jones. They're in a loving relationship, right? They seem to still be together. They're getting married. I believe they're supposed to get married this summer. Brandon Ingram, I just mentioned him in Gorilla. Celebrity relationship, very clearly seems like they're going well, just started. The relationship that y'all obviously don't like is Sierra and Russell Wilson, and that seems to be the most normal relationship they've had. They've been together for a while now. But we don't bring those people up because it doesn't get the clicks, the likes, the views, all this good stuff. Again, things that I am not bashing people over. I am in that world too. But we gotta realize that there are just people who don't care and they rather you be miserable and express that than to reconcile that pain and move forward with it. But that's all the time we have for today. Thank you guys again for listening to the Men Who Cry podcast. Again, please like, subscribe, review, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. And we'll be back talking to you guys again later this week. All right, everyone. Peace out.